Well, live in studio with us now is the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boinnet. Welcome and thank you for joining us on Sunday Live. Lots to discuss, but we'll start with cattle rustling, the banditry, and these conflicts that we have seen, which are really have been there for decades now. And the question we must ask you, is the government impotent to address this problem?
It's not impotent at all. And I'm glad you have said that this is a problem that has persisted for quite a bit of time. And I'm glad the leaders who spoke in various parts of North Rift, some in Eldoret, some in some public rally, have identified one of the strategies that must be employed to bring that problem to a closure, to they themselves talking to the young people. Because we have to employ a multiplicity of strategies to bring this problem to a closure. This madness must come to an end. It's not going to be allowed to fester any longer than is necessary.
So to my next question, which you started to address, is we clearly need a change of tact in this war. We keep hearing the same rhetoric over and over, and I think that's what Kenyans are so tired of. Once and for all, we need to see change. There's a realization in instances where change has perhaps come, Mount Elgin being one of them, that there was a lot that needed to happen, and there are the human rights issues that come along with that. So what do we do and how do we balance so that the rights of people are protected even as we provide security?
When addressing security vis-a-vis respecting the human rights of citizens, a fine line must be drawn. I've had in a number of instances people making references to certain countries who seem to be managing their affairs much better than ourselves. It should be borne in mind that Kenya is a very free country.
Which countries are you referring to?
Well, we know them. Some of them are our neighbors. Some of them are further afield. But in our own specific instance, we must draw the line between how much of civil rights are we able, or can we allow ourselves to give up in return to security, so that security forces can provide security. You made reference to Mount Elgon, because very, very tough measures were taken, and it is time, and I must reiterate and repeat again, it is time we may have to go that direction to bring that madness in North Rift to an end once and for all.
Let's not shy away from naming the countries. We know that Ethiopia, for instance, militarily is very strong. Security-wise, in spite of its presence in place in Somalia, it has been able to protect its citizens from the terror attacks that Kenya is enduring. Is this one of the countries you're referring to? And if there are others, which ones are there and what can we maybe learn from them?
You mentioned Ethiopia. Ethiopia is secure in relative terms because of very close cooperation between the citizens and the security forces. The citizens, you will recall, or you perhaps know, that they have a bigger formal army and a much bigger non-formal army, the militia, so to speak, the civil defense forces, so to speak. So everybody has one time or another been associated with the army, but not in our country. The challenge that we have in Kenya is that because of inadequacies in the police, because of issues of corruption, issues of human rights abuses, there has been a lot of distance between the people and the police, to the extent that they do not, I must admit, do not trust us sufficiently to allow us to work together to secure this country.
How do you change
this? We
this?
want to change that state of affairs. We want to change the mindset of a police officer in this country towards one that was calibrated in the past to suppressing citizens on behalf of the colonialists, to one that serves the people. Oh, and you will recall, if you permit me, that I said during the vetting that I want to create a police service that is predicated on serving the people, that serves the people of this country. There are a number of things that have to be done to reach that level, which I'll be making reference to in a short while.
We'll come to that.
Yes.
You've mentioned the corruption, and we will touch on that. We've got a few tweets coming in, though. Let's hear what some of the viewers are raising. They should be there. We have them on the screen. Ahmed Noor says, ask the IG if there's any program to protect youth in Northeastern from radicalization. An excellent question. You'll address that in just a moment for us, please. At P. Chelimo says, Kenyans have no trust with the police. Just what you've referenced. What mechanism will you use to win back the trust? Thank you for that question. Jaylani says, what is IG Joseph Boinnet doing to enhance the security of Kenyans? We're going to be discussing more on that tonight. And Martin Simiyu says, can we have more police permanently located in volatile areas instead of ferrying them in times of need? I think we saw that mentioned in the story as well. That is the plea of people in those areas. Jackson Letangule says, what plans do you have to substantively end banditry in Baringo and other parts of the country? Amazing range of questions there. Let's start perhaps with radicalization. My director is telling me we've got to go back to stories and then we'll come back. So we will come back to address those very good questions. Thank you. But first, we're told our Welcome back to Sunday Live. We're speaking to the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boinnet. We had questions that came in on Twitter, and we're going to go straight to those, Bwana IG. Letangule had asked, what plans do you have to substantively end banditry in Baringo and other parts of the country? We had been addressing that issue earlier, but let's go into what exactly you plan to do to address the situation.
On the part of the police alone?
What is the plan? If the police is working with others, tell us about the
There is a plan.
Yes.
And it's a plan, is all of, I will call it whole of government plan. In that it involves a number of actors, not only the police, and it is at two levels. Level one is on the part of security agencies, with the police working with the military, working with the intelligence to address in the immediate term the resurgence of this madness. I will call it madness because to me it's total madness, and as I said, we will not allow it to fester. And as we speak now on the part of the police, I have sent more numbers to those troubled areas in addition to the officers who are on the ground, and we're adding the more resources to deal with the proximate causes of that madness, both in Baringo, in Turkana, and in Samburu. Secondly, we are appealing to the leadership of the three counties to help us bring this madness to an end. And I'm glad they made a declaration in Eldred that they are willing to partner with the police, because restoration of security in that part of this country is as important as any other part of this country. We are not ignoring either North Rift or any other part of this country. I'm going to come to that,
but I must, in relation to leadership, we've had leaders make statements of commitment to partnership with police. We've had, I think, Asman Kamama here on Citizen TV speaking to Hussein Mohammed. We've had Duale speaking recently as well on the issues of terrorism and radicalization and outing those people who have been financing and supporting these activities. What progress have been made? They've said we're going to come out, we're going to give names, we're going to... And it seems nothing has been done yet. So how do you compel these leaders to not just speak, but to act?
I will address the two areas, in the North Rift and in the Northeastern region. Let me start with the last one. When Honorable Duale made that declaration, it was followed up by action. We are not climbing on any rooftops or any mountains to say this is what we have done. But a lot has been done.
So behind the scenes?
Behind the scenes, a lot of good things are happening.
Okay.
Yes, a lot of good things are happening. And in North Rift, the leadership of, in Baringo, in West Pokot County, in Turkana, and in Samburu, have come out clearly, and as evidenced by the declaration made today, that they are willing to partner with us, they are willing to collaborate with us. And as a matter of fact, I issued an order that we want to recruit National Police Service reservists from amongst the eligible men in those communities to partner with us to help us police those particular areas.
Brings me to the question by Martin Simiu, and he says, can we have more police permanently located in volatile areas instead of ferrying there in time of need? And is it time we did away with this idea that national reservists, police reservists are enough? How about recruiting these young men into the police force fully and making sure they have the training and the equipment to do what needs to be done in these areas?
That's a fair question. The law is very, very clear on how Kenyans can be recruited into the police force and the need for police reservists, because they have local knowledge, they have other local talent and other local capabilities that officers from other parts of the country may not have. And they interface much easily with the local population than the police. And they do a commendable job, and that's why we are keen to recruit them to help us police those respective areas. And as a matter of fact, the leaderships in those respective areas, I've asked for them.
Should there not, though, be a phased approach to ensure that rather than reservists, they are part of the police force? But I'll leave you with that.
We will not phase them out because they play
will remain
because they play an important role.
Ahmed Noor asks if there's a program to protect youth in Northeastern from radicalization. I think that brings us to questions of, the fight against terrorism, the issue of trust. And I think Piche Limo mentioned it. You had raised it earlier as well. The issue of trust between the police and the people. Recently, the amnesty was announced. What is the response to that amnesty? Are you finding that people are responding?
They are responding in a very, very positive way. In coastal regions, you probably saw in the press today by one of an important leader in Mombasa, there's significant progress being made in that direction, this one as well. And as a matter of fact, you probably are aware of the appointment of Ambassador Saleh to be the regional coordinator, and he has specific instructions to bring to an end terror threats emanating from that part of the country. And he's going to be working with the National Police Service. But let me say one thing. It worries me a great deal when I look around and realize not many of our people realize the magnitude of the problem we are facing.
With respect to terrorism?
With respect to terrorism. Not many of us know the size of the monster staring at us from across the fence. It borders on the existential.
Explain it.
Existential.
Explain to our viewers.
Because terrorism is the use of violence against innocent civilians to achieve a political agenda. And often, those type of criminals use religion as a pretext to advance their political cause. The ones staring at us across the border want to change this society. They want to destroy this country. They want to completely dismember us, to dismember this country that we know. And we should not sit back and keep quiet. We should not allow that fight to be the fight of security agencies alone. It is a fight of both members of the national security community and the Kenyan people in its entirety.
Now, I must say we've seen just over the past week quite a bit of activity around embracing of Nyumba Kumi by communities who are saying we do want to know who lives next to us and what's going on around us. But let's come to the questions. A lot of people are sitting back at home and saying, yes, we want to be part of the fight. We understand this. But the fact that we have corruption in the system is what allows this country to be most vulnerable. So let's come back to that issue, which you did raise earlier. The question of how to deal with the rot when it comes to corruption, indiscipline, and an unwillingness to serve the way the police should.
Remember, Julie, that corruption is not confined to the police alone. Remember that His Excellency the President, during his State of the Nation address, specified corruption as a serious threat to national security. For us, it's the same thing. And for me, as the IG, I have already told my entire service that I will not tolerate corruption at all. there's zero tolerance.
What will happen?
And I've said,
One IG, what
my
will
instructions
happen?
are,
Yes.
we catch you engaging in corruption, we will sack you. We sack you by employing administrative methods. After that, you go and do whatever you want to do outside the police service. You go, if you are subjected to any court process, you do it as a civilian, not as a police officer. And we must escalate that fight against corruption beyond the police service. Kenyans must also refrain from bribing my officers.
Absolutely, but let's come back. And the question of perhaps what seems to be common practice is you see something irregular happen and someone is transferred. These are the things that Kenyans have become accustomed to. You talk of sacking, but Kenyans will sit back and ask, why is sacking enough? If someone has been corrupt, why are they not being prosecuted and put in? At what point can we create a society where people are fearful and unwilling to engage in corrupt practices?
I'm glad you have made that remark. We must draw the line. And as His Excellency the President said during his State of National Address, corruption should not be permitted. And we all recall the action he has taken. We have taken the same in the National Police Service. As we speak, we fired 50 of them who had been found engaging in corruption. And I've said that you engage in any form of misdeed, so to speak, or if you fail to perform your duty as is required. You remember the case of Garissa? We had clear intelligence. We forwarded to the officers in Garissa. They did not do their job as is required. They are under suspension, and an inquiry is underway. And if they are found culpable, either in the direction of failing to act, or essentially not doing the job as is required, then they will be held to account. So we will not transfer anybody who fails to do his job.
So Kenyans, you've heard it from the Inspector General of Police. If you see anything untoward, let's take these issues up. Let's challenge. Let's make sure that the system is working to clean itself. I want to come because my time is up. But before we leave this interview, we must address the question of welfare of the police. And much as we bash our police force, we also understand that you are standing up for us. You are risking life and limb to keep us safe as a nation. You have not been paid well. We understand that. You live in many situations and circumstances that it's simply not warranted. You know, housing must be improved. Healthcare, I think, was recently addressed, if I'm not mistaken. What are you doing to ensure that we are rewarding our police servicemen and women?
Thank you very much. We are doing several things to create a police officer who is sufficiently capacitated to serve this country in this day and age. Number one, we are looking at their housing. Number two, we are looking at their training. Number three, we are looking at the equipment that they use, both in terms of vehicles and even weaponry. We're also looking at personal protection kits, because quite often, as you said, they are called upon to confront extremely dangerous criminals, like terrorists, for instance.
We're often better armed, we are told, than they are.
Not really, because they also carry weapons that some of our officers have them. They're not necessarily better armed than ourselves. But nevertheless, we want to capacitate them and make them better armed than the bandits, better armed than the terrorists, so that when they stand out on our behalf, they are confident and they are able to confront the criminals. Permit me to say one other thing. The National Police Service comprises very many. As a matter of fact, the majority of them are good people and they want to do a honest day's job. It's just a handful of us who are giving us a terribly bad name. The corrupt, as you said. The people who harass our motorists on our roads. The people who beat up people for no reason at all. Those are just a handful. But I want to focus on the good ones, get rid of the bad elements, capacitate them, bring them up to speed so that when they move forth to serve the Kenyan people, every morning they are proud to stand and to wear the uniforms that they are in.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We could go on with this, and I would want to, but maybe we'll ask you to come back and speak to us some more. You've heard tonight from the Inspector General of Police. Boinnet has made time for us tonight. Your thoughts, many of them are coming in. I was just trying to read through some. We'll connect all these ideas, questions, comments to you on Twitter, and we'll send you the SMS ones as well. Of course, we're going to read out some of the comments before the end of the show. But asante sana to you for joining us. Again, it's an effort that takes all of us, but we certainly must be led by a police force that is clean, that is really setting new standards in a country where we're facing such challenges in relation to insecurity. So asante sana, maybe I'll give you an opportunity to give Kenyans a final message direct from the police.
National security is a collaborative effort between members of the national security community and the Kenyan people. Because my mission is to create a national police service that is focused on providing people-centered service. So we must collaborate together. We must communicate, or talk to one another. We must partner with one another to secure our homeland. Because this is the only one we have. We have no other one.
We have one country. It's about collaboration. We're taking a break. Stay with Sunday Live. Thank you.